Okay, sorry for the interruption. I'm hopefully back. I just opened the chat so I can see what you are telling me. Chat. I lost the chat history. Gene, can you save the chat history? It didn't record it to me. Okay, so I'm back. Okay, so where was I? I was with the command. I wanted to run this and I couldn't click the run button. That's why I stopped everything. First time this happened. So it wasn't the wrong button. I just didn't know which button is I have to press, because last time I pressed the other button and then I stopped the meeting for everyone. This time at least you were still online. Okay. So I'm running this one now, and if we go to our demo, just quickly look into the project features for 9.5. I have a quick syntax sugar MVVM. So what we can do is now just click my commands. There we can see in my command, I get the parameters called by sequence. There is a new annotation called binding params, which can be used to directly create a POJO. So for example, you pass in properties of a POJO object, and at the server side, you just bind a single object like a person, and this person object has all these properties, getters and setters, and it will create one of these directly. So you don't have to bind every single parameter. If you want this, if you want to do this, you can just create one kind of transport object that gets auto-created from this call. So if you put a breakpoint, you click the button, you can see it's actually created a person object. So yeah, syntax sugar, doing something automatically. If it's helpful, it helps. You don't have to use it. So something new at least. The next thing we have is something that was asked for a lot is when you try to call a command binding from a different view model. By default, you could only use global commands for this, or previously, and now you can reference another view model with the prefix $, the view model name, and then the command of this view model. So in my example, it is here I have another view model. It only has the other command binding. You see, I'm omitting the command annotation completely. And here I'm, oh no, in the Zool file is important here for this one. In the Zool file, I call the command from the inner view model, and I call the VM command from the outer view model. And that's just something we can now do. So I call inner command, outer command, and in my console, we should see inner command, other command, and the outer my command is called. Also quick thing to show. Okay, let's skip over a few things. Bean creation we already mentioned. If you have a bean, makes it slightly easier. Previous usage, you have lots of getters and setter calls, and now you can just bind. I think there is a typo. Oh no, that's a new usage. Binding parameters items. Yeah. Okay. So now there's a shortcut for the notify change method, because in most cases you just call null, null, because you use the desktop scope, the event queue. You call the, what was the other parameter? I forgot. I never used it. So we have now a shortcut syntax to just call the object you want to notify and the property. And it has also a variable argument list, so you can add multiple properties in one call if you want to notify change dynamically. So this is about the MVVM new features. Now we come to something that I already previewed in the last session, the compact theme for the ZK theme template. So in ZK 9.5, you can now build the compact theme just by switching a single property in a project. I think I will skip this for today. unless there's really a lot of demand, call in the chat if you want to see this, but I already showed this, demonstrated this last time. It's now out, it's now available, and I just tested it right before the session. Works. And see, maybe the last, I can show you the last update I made was just a few hours ago. I updated the version to 9.5, used the latest zk-less engine with a few security warnings from Node.js. And now it's using the latest 9.5 version to build, or for the test project to run the new theme with the latest version of zk. So up to date, ready to use. Component changes. There's a few minor things. Sometimes it was difficult to customize radio boxes, checkboxes, because they had a surrounding span around the checkbox and the label or the icon. And if you want to customize the span, depending on the checkbox status, you couldn't do this easily because CSS doesn't have some kind of parent selector. So you can't say, please style the span around a checkbox. So now there's these checkbox on and off and radio on off styles can be easily shown here in the checkbox Zool. Just a small file, just use the default radio controls and checkboxes. And if you run this, you can see in the features 9.5, just go back to checkbox.zool. And if we inspect this, we can see if I check or uncheck that there's a style, checkbox on, checkbox off, and the same for the radio items, for the radio buttons. So you see they go on and off depending on what you click. Just make it easier for styling if you need it. Sometimes it was just difficult, and minor minor changes also have some benefits. Okay, what do we have? Pop-up specify a different reference component, and now previously a pop-up always applies to the component that has the pop-up property. For example, here button will open the pop-up with the ID pp. And now you can also say the button should open at the text box above. If this is something, if you want to open the pop-up directly based on the position of another component or relative to another component in the UI, that's now available like this. I think the JavaScript API already did this in the past, but now it's also part of the component and on the server side, so you can easily configure this. I think search box, easy, clear. Now the search box has a clear icon. So if you type something into a search box, you can just clear it out. Somehow it was missing previously and was difficult to clear. Checkbox contents are just pop up. So if you want to show pop up, it just opens at the other component, and why did I open a new window? Not the same. Okay, now we have a search box somewhere here. I think I search something, select these, and now there's this clear button to clear the input. Okay. And then for those who were stuck in ZK7 or still stuck in ZK7 because of heavy form binding usage, we re-added the old form binding as an optional as an optional choice. If you want to use the old form binding, you can't upgrade to the form binding since ZK8. That's an option. I think it's a larger topic. I won't show this here. The code changes that are necessary are mentioned here. So the API, of course, since the interfaces had the same name, you need a new interface if you use the old form binding in your view model code directly. There are now form legacy and form legacy ext, and a few things that need to be replaced in order to make the old code work as before. So for those who were stuck in ZK7, just because of form binding, that's hopefully helpful to you. Few style updates. The notification were not, I would say that we didn't have a bright and a dark mode version, and now there's a light and a dark version of the notifications. Another topic that's too big for here is introducing the fetch API for redirection with single sign-on handling. I think that should be part of a full session. That's too much for here. Just to say, now we changed the technical basis for the AJAX calls where it's available. It will use the fetch API, and the fetch API has a redirection callback. So whenever there is a redirection for AJAX requests, it can now be handled at client side and is no longer transparently done by the browser. So just for those who had issues with SSO redirects, there's now a chance or an API available to do this. I need to still create an example for this and see how we can actually leverage this, but this was the technical basis we needed to do for this. Now, of course, it's not available on browsers that don't have the fetch API, so this can't work on IE 11, but all other major browsers support the fetch API. Scroll into view. Now, the scroll into view is sometimes the same as focusing. You always need to know the component reference, and for some MVVM purists, there was not a really a choice to directly get the or they don't want to have component references in their code, and now there's an alternative. It still depends on the view. You still need to know IDs or CSS selectors to select them, but it's an alternative that does not fully break your or it doesn't force you to get the components into your UI. So you can just pass around strings to select, to focus components or scroll components into view. And there's an example project. If you want to look at it, It's also too much to show right now. There are a few options available. Then list box enhancements. Are just minor things. I don't mention them. I hope they don't break anything for you. Because I think the markup of a list box has slightly changed. It's also mentioned at the bottom. There were some obsolete divs in the grid and in the list box entry that could be removed. So in case you still have styling for those styles will have no effect anymore because these divs are gone. So for more details, look into ZK4622. And iPadOS support can't really support this device, but somehow it's not, or Apple decided not to show anymore that this is a touch device, that this is a mobile device. It just tells the, or it just identifies itself as a desktop device by default. There's an option in the settings of your iPad where you can change this, but the default is desktop, and that's why ZK can't detect the iPad anymore. So that sometimes features are lost, and now ZK can detect this one in a slightly strange way, but you need workarounds for browsers changing their behavior sometimes. And is there any timeline for the fully fledged? Oh, this is a comment by someone. I hope you're here today. I hope this explains today. So I think I have spent enough time with the small features. Let's go to the big one. Any questions so far? There's one question. Are there any plans to refresh the DOM structure of a list box? We are currently updating framework from 6 to 9 and are happy with the new purified DOM, but list box still seems a bit old-fashioned with all the tables. Right now, no plans to really break the old component. If we change this so dramatically, I think we make a new component. Listbox itself is so used by everyone, we can't break it in this way. Sorry, must be a new component. It can't. Otherwise, no one can upgrade anymore because I think everyone uses Listbox. And yes, tables are old-fashioned, but they are still there. They're still used, and really can't maybe listbox ng. Yeah, we are looking into different things. I think there's another one called grid AG or AG grid. We are evaluating different possibilities to what would be a good one, a good option. The thing is often browser compatibility, because often IE is still needed, and then all these new fancy features can't be used, and then you're still back to tables basically. Even though things have gotten better with IE, there are still lots of features missing, especially on the CSS side. It would be nicer to have CSS grid available for these kind of things. But yeah, thanks for the input. We know this box is like this forever, and I think it won't change. Okay, let's go to accessibility. So the big problem. So I already started the project. This project is available as source code on GitHub. We already mentioned this in our small talk, I think. So somewhere here we have the new features, and there is the GitHub project. There is the demo. It's currently live, so it's also running on our live server. Now, if you want to have a look, try using a screen reader or something on this. We know it's not perfect. It's not yet complete. For example, you see there's no content in these things. Just wanted to have some kind of common UI patterns in here to show something. And if something is empty, at least we can navigate around with keyboard, for example. And yeah, let's just look into this, what it looks on my side right now. I started with Ice Blue, and if you tap through the UI, I think you all know this when you do your accessibility assessments, that you press tab, nothing happens. 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 Tab, 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 and suddenly you reach another component that has a focus style or something. So this was one of the first things we did, is add more focus styles. And for this, we need to switch to a different theme because we don't want to break the existing themes. Because at the same time, contrast needs to change because the existing themes don't have the high enough contrast for colors. So we picked darker. We have to pick darker and brighter colors just to be compliant. And unfortunately, this leads to these borders. These focus borders just need to be visible so that you can see where the information is. If you have a good designer, maybe they can customize it into something better looking. Right now, that's the options we chose. There have to be some trade-offs. Can't be the latest flat design if you need clear borders. If you need to show something, you can't make it nice and smooth. You need contrast, you need hard edges for everyone to be visible. So that's the first thing. You can choose among 3 themes. We already listed them here. So you have 3 color options right now, the blue, the navy, and the purple one. So that's all default ZK functionality. But still, if I tap through this, it takes me a long time to get to the content because everything it's just the default tab order. So we also had to change the way how the components behave and how the focus is managed. And that's where the new dependency comes into play. So what I first do is I change my default theme into WCAG. I think I don't use the compact version. I use the bigger version, so it's easier to see on the screen. I wanted to ask someone where the red line comes from, or it's gone. Cool. So save this one, and in my build script, I just add the new dependency ZLE or ZELI. I don't know how we call it, how we want to call it. The A11Y stands for accessibility. In the same way, the I18N is for internationalization. That's, I think, the commonly used abbreviation for accessibility. I'll just restart my project. And of course, the first goal was to make keyboard controls better, and then also to have better screen reader support. But with the keyboard, you can already see a few improvements. So if I load my page again, it should automatically go to IS Blue because that's my new default theme. If I tap around, wait, I already focused the start button. So I just hit enter, which is the default key to start a button. And now I can focus around more quickly. I thought I could. I think I haven't. It's not running with the theme yet. I always forget to click the load update Gradle dependencies button. Still, I'm very glad for the person who pointed this out to me, and I still forget it all the time. So I need to run again. So it's loading this jar file. And this jar file contains additional changes. So you can still use DK without these changes because we are aware we have to change things. And very often when we change things, something else breaks. But accessibility needs those changes. So we start with this package being optional. And you can start using it when you're ready or do some tests with it. And now we should have a better tab order. For example, what I can tap now is this one is a tab box, and I can tap the tab docs tab. I can use keyboard to change my separator. Now I can press enter to collapse it, enter to open it again. Yeah, because this one is just to make the border layout a bit more accessible. If I tap back, I will focus on the navigation. But if I tap again, it doesn't go through all the items. It's the whole navigation bar. It's one component, and it has this kind of sub-navigation based on the patterns provided by the, I think it's called ARIA, what was it called? ARIA authoring practices. That's the one we used as the basis for this. So if I wonder, do we have accessibility? I think I mentioned them here in this GitHub project. There's the link. So the ARIA authoring practices. So here someone with a lot of time and effort created a long list of all the currently known patterns. This list is changing over time, so I think it's never done. You always have a better idea how to do something. And then, for example, we have the window splitter pattern, and here it shows which keyboard interactions should be used for these ones. There are some optional keys. There are some mandatory keys. So we have the left, right, up, down arrow and enter key to open and close the pane. So that's where these keys are coming from. We try not to make them up by ourselves. Sometimes there's no existing pattern, so we have to do this, but some of these UI patterns match a ZK component, so we can apply it. Which is the tab I'm using here? Now, is this the live demo? Sorry, I always have this pop-up in front of my mouse. Okay. And here. So now I can go up and down to, okay, all right, there's a question. It seems to be a preview version. Do you have a, yes, I know you asked the question before. I'm trying to answer this. There's the preview means it's optional. Yeah, you can use it already. We did as much as we know and as we could do in the timeline. I think this is an ongoing process. It's never finished. I think it already improves a lot of the accessibility. So if this is your goal, you will never do this in one go. You have to do this one by one or step by step and constantly improve your UI design. And ZK, the LE package is supposed to help you on this way. Yes, I'll show these. I show these. I think I can't show my keyboard. I'm pressing, so I'm trying to say what I'm doing. So right now I use up and down to select one of these. So if I tap back and forward, I just go through different active components. So up and down is the sub navigation. I press enter to navigate somewhere. And I press enter again to go somewhere else. With the tab box, I will show this in a second because right now I only have one tab open. Can't do much more. So I tap a bit more. So here we see this is a group box. I can enter with the enter key. You can open and close the group box. If you close it, it will just step over it. If you open it, you will step into it and show the different components. You see also in the slider, you have the left slider is focused, the right slider is focused, and you can go left and right with your keys, button styles. And if I want to open a new element, I need to focus my list box. So you see somehow a style for the list box focus was missing. I think that this is something I need to post a bug about. Somehow the style to show that the list box has focus is not there yet. But once you are inside the list box, so now the list box is focused, you can press up and down to select the current row, or to go to the headers. You can sort the headers with the Enter key. You can, how can I get out of this again? No. So I'm in a row. Inside a row, you can go left and right into the cells. So in case these cells have active content, you can press Enter, and then it will focus a text box inside these cells. Or you go to these action buttons. I press Tab again, and now I have the sub tab, so I can tap between these. It's a lot of things I have to learn before with all this. So it's different UI concept. It's not intuitive anymore to a normal. How to say a normal person, and how it's to a person who's using the mouse. It's slightly different, and when using a screen reader, it's even more different. I will come to this. Hope we have enough time. So if I open a few more tabs, I just switch to another tab. That was my. I just closed the filter. It's disrupting me. I want to go somewhere here and open this one. So now I have multiple tabs open, and with left, right, I can switch between the tabs. With Enter, I can activate a tab, and with the Delete key, I can close one of these tabs and switch back and forth. So a multi-tab UI is now possible. And then if I tap inside these components, I can use keys to change things. I can cancel the order. This example doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just something I wanted to display something, some pizza things, just to have some data that changes. So I can cancel the order, press Enter, and then it's closing itself again. So a lot of things that are difficult to design. So if you go to the very bottom, you can go also to the next page of a screen, using just going out of the current view, or press up, page down to use the pagination control at the bottom. You can directly go into the pagination and go to page number 7, or you can just press Enter on the next button. If it's getting deactivated, it will focus back to the input field, because this button is now no longer active. So, or just go to the beginning again. So lots of keyboard controls. What else do we have? Yeah, we have the filtering. How to tap back to the filter. I see something in the tab order is again weird. I must tap through all the buttons, and now I can go back to the filtering. And now if I search for something, for example, I only want to search for the pizza orders of Wanda Hofmeister, just search for Hof, press Enter, and it's an existing feature in ZK to use the on OK event to trigger something by keyboard, so nothing new. I can say, give me only a specific status. But right now nothing is there, so I want the open orders only. Then I can search for specific ingredients, because these, just use the mouse now to be a bit quicker. We can see there is a special pizza with pepperoni, salami, cheese, and tomato. So I only want to search for, use keyboard, sorry. How do I get it here? I want only salami, and well, that's enough. And then I press, I think, refresh. Everyone has salami. Maybe the onion is specially enough. somehow it doesn't show me anything different. Does she have everything with salami and onion? Tomato, ham, only ham maybe? I'm sorry, I don't know my data. Ah, now it changes. So you see, I can change this. So I press delete to delete the current input. The range slider has keys like left and right, up and down, as all defined in these patterns. Again, here in this area, you see sliders, multi-thumb, and they again demonstrate what are the possible. Wait, where are the keyboard controls with the slider? Ah, here's the slider keyboard interaction. Here we also included a few optional features, page up, page down, to move the slider a bit faster because it just makes sense in this case. So if I go left, right, it goes up by 1 and by 1. If I use page up, page down, it goes up by 10. If I press end, it goes to the end. If I press home, it goes to the beginning. I tap to the next, say end, press enter, and my pizza updates. Just page down again a few times. So now select only the cheap orders. And then again, we go into the details. And then we have the details. So I think this is already a lot. So only the keyboard controls are a lot of things that needed to be changed. Just that everything can be reached without a mouse, even without a screen reader. This is tough. Yes, so let's try a screen reader. If you never used a screen reader before, you'll just hit a wall. It doesn't make any sense to, or didn't make any sense to me previously, because screen readers have at least 2 different modes. One is called browse mode, the other one is called focus mode. And the focus mode behaves like a default browser, where the keys are just doing the same thing as before in a browser. And the browse mode is the replacement for person's eyes or for the person's ability to use a mouse to hover something, where you can just browse with the keys over a page, and it will behave differently. It has different shortcuts, different keyboard shortcuts, just to oh yeah, okay, I'm sorry now. Yeah, so the first, sorry, I can't talk right now. I need to turn off the audio. Settings, speech, then I think it was off. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is turn off the speech, because that's just killing your own ears. Of course, sometimes you have to debug with speech mode, but it's in most cases it's better to use the speech viewer. It will just print out what is being said over the audio, so that's slightly more helpful. I think the alley. I need to find the demo. This is my local host. Okay, and I already enabled another setting to display the current browse mode cursor. So you see what is currently highlighted in browse mode. So you see the orange thing, which is the focus of the browser, and the yellow thing is the browse mode eye replacement. And on the left side, you see what it's reading currently. So like you're in the document, I'm in the main landmark. There's a start button, and the start button, and there's text next to it. So it's just reading the whole row. You can go left and right, just to read every single character. If you want to, you can go up and down to read different sections of the page. You see, you can just browse, read parts of sentences. I don't know how it determines how far to jump. It's just some magic. And you can go even further up and up. You see, it says there's a separator. It's clickable, so you can press enter, and then it will. It should do the default action. It doesn't do it right now. I need to go into focus mode. So to focus, you have to press, I think, tab, and then it's switching into focus mode. So this is learning how to use the screen reader. And when it's in focus mode, you can use the keyboard controls. I'm still not, wait. I can't jump out of browse mode. Okay, then there's another shortcut. Insert space is to jump out of browse mode, I think. And now I'm in focus mode. You see no longer the yellow cursor. And now I can use the normal keyboard shortcuts to operate something. You see the expand button is collapsed right now, and now it's expanded. If I go tab again, it tells me I'm inside the navigation landmark, and currently I'm at the overview 1 of 4. I just clicked somewhere. Wait, I need to stay here. And now if I go through these items with up and down, it will read which item I'm at. And then I press enter to activate it. And here on this page, I did something that's maybe not good. By default, I focused the button, so it's not a bug. It's something I did, so it's part of my design. And if someone is confused by focus jumping, then you can't change the focus. Your focus management is a science by itself. But I wanted the demo to be startable by enter, so I press enter, go into the page. Maybe I switch back to focus mode just to show where the current focus is. So right now I'm inside the tab selected order list. Just go through the page a bit, and you see it's telling me I'm inside a table, and you see it's difficult to use it. Somehow the browse mode still displays this thing, and if I focus, I'm somewhere else. So I think these things are hard to fine tune. That's why we said preview, because there are lots of things that we need to find out. What is the good pattern to implement this? So this demo is not set in stone. This is the current idea we have about what we can do easily, and I hope we get lots of feedback and problems that we can solve and demonstrate in a way. And now to show the tab box navigation, we can see again, currently the selected tab is the order tab, the order number 1100. It says it has a closed tab button. It's currently selected and it's 2 of 2. And if I go left, it says order tab 1 of 2. I can switch between the two, and now it's selected. And I can say, for example, here the filter thing is an order list property, filter button expanded. So it's lots of information coming at once. And yes, good point. Every of these screen readers has its own quirks. So now we are back at where we started 10 years ago with browser incompatibilities, just about screen readers. This is going to be a challenge for everyone in this area to work around all the problems. I personally use NVDA because it's just easy to install. It doesn't have an annoying uptime limit like JAWS. If you run JAWS, you have to reboot your virtual machine or your PC every 40 minutes. That's really annoying. Somehow they don't want developers to use it without paying. And it's really expensive. So on macOS, there's another one called, I think, Narrator. So every OS has a different screen reader, and they all behave slightly different. But they try to implement the patterns provided earlier, or to support these patterns. So I switch back to browse mode. So now the yellow disappeared, and now you can see where I am. Now it just says filter button expanded, and if I press enter, it says filter button collapsed. And if we look under the hood, we don't do this in the virtual machine. Is there anything else I can show from here? Yeah, I want to show the dialog. So I go back to my order 110, and I cancel the order. It needs to tell me what has changed. So it says, did it tell me? Close dialog. It doesn't even tell me what it is. So I need to make sure that these are announced. So are you sure to cancel the order? So you just see cancel order and you don't know what it is. You can just browse around. So that's what people can do. Yeah, they can use the linearization of the page to walk around between these things. For example, there's the close button accessible. You can go to the title, read the title of this dialog. You see this one is a blank. So maybe there's something missing. Window. I guess there are some bugs. I mean, does it keep the focus in the window? It should. I think that's another feature I haven't mentioned, that our dialog should now keep the focus. So if we focus around, I just press tab, it stays inside the dialog. So this is another small bug fix in ZK 9.5. You find these things when focusing more on keyboard controls. And I switch to focus mode again, and now I can tap around normally, still behaves the same way. And I press cancel the order, and then the order is canceled. You see, I lost the focus again because I didn't do focus management properly in this case. I need to focus something, but I haven't decided yet what. Yeah, this is something that you have to decide. The good thing is it ends up at a reasonable place. So if you hit tab again, no, in this case it doesn't. It just ends up at the end of the page. So it's really bad. So I should have at least focused something in here. I don't know what. If I deleted an order, it's difficult to decide what to focus next. But it's a decision that's part of your accessibility design. Okay, let's go out of this virtual machine and just look slightly into the technicalities. No, I want to go. One thing is important. It's nice to see is what the slider is doing. For example, if I go left and right, it shows the current value. If I tap to the next one, it tells me it's the maximum price slider. And if I shift tab, it says minimum price slider. And you see what kind of values the user gets presented with when the screen reader would be reading this. Yep. Okay, there's the refresh button, refresh, and things refresh. Okay, so let's step out of this again. Yeah, so this is my page again. Just look at a few details under the hood. The slider, because I debugged this the most, I know most about it. It was my topic, one of my components I reviewed. And here you see it adds lots of these area values to it. It says what's the minimum value, what's the maximum value right now of this slider. What's the current value right now? It's 0. So if we change it, it updates this value. There's an area value text, which can be something different than the current value. It has a label, which is the minimum price, so you can know what this slider will do. For this, we have a specific attribute because that's not part of, or you can't set this attribute directly at the main component. I haven't mentioned it all. In many cases, you will have to add your own custom attributes. I'll come to this in a minute. So we have minimum price and some styling. So this is how these things are roughly working under the hood. Or here with the navigation, we can see this one is area hidden. True is the icon because you don't need it here. It says area labeled by. So there's all these area labels that are happening automatically. Role none. This one is a link. Role menu item. So these are all hints for the screen readers to present this information in a way a person that is skilled to use these things can understand. Yeah, in this case, possible, yes. You just have to do it. In this case, I deleted the row. When I press cancel, the row is removed from the list box, so there's nothing to focus anymore. And so I couldn't even focus it. So I have to decide what to focus. Otherwise, it will lose the focus. That's really application specific. Like I don't know of any reasonable default that always does something good. But there's one thing that's helpful also, the landmark navigation. So just difficult. If we go back to browse mode, yeah, if we go to browse mode, insert space, there's a landmark. There's a D. If you press D, you can switch between the main landmarks. And Shift D, you can go back to the previous landmarks. For example, now I'm going to the banner landmark, which is a top area. There's some fixed names. I press D again, I go to the navigation landmark, or I press D again, I go to the main landmark. So there's lots of concepts. yeah, focus the row above. Yeah. Lots of concepts that have to be learned. Um, how to get back to what I was. So lots of things you need to learn before this makes any sense at all. ZK can't explain these things. Yes, I understand your idea, but the thing is, I was on a different tab, so the focus was something else completely. And when I and also have multiple tabs, so it doesn't mean that the tab I closed was the row in the UI. So the only thing I can do in my view model or in my controller code is figure out what was the last item, focus the item above it somehow. And the thing is, it's so difficult to explain. So, for example, I can remove all my filters, yeah, and refresh. And then I focus this one. And then I go here and delete it. I say cancel order and cancel order. And now I'm still on this tab. I'm not even back at the order list. So it's, what can I focus? Yeah, because there's also rules about the tab box. If you close a tab, which tab should be the next tab to be focused? So it's not at all trivial to decide what is the next focused element. That's really, you need a good designer for this to decide. And then if ZK can't make it possible, we have to add a feature to allow doing what you need. But it's really tough in a complex UI to decide what is the next element that needs focus. We can maybe provide the tools to focus something. Otherwise, I find it tough. Thing is, with the landmark, you can get back to the center content quickly with a single key, and then enter this. So just look into the source code, because we are running out of time as always. And also you can look into the source code yourself. So we have the index.zool, and what I do is here, I use the existing feature client attributes. Client attribute to add extra DOM attributes. So for example, easy part is if some of the area, some of your view region is the banner area, you use the role banner or role navigation or role main. All the common names are defined somewhere in the ARIA guides. So it's not names I make up. These are names somehow designed by or decided by convention. And there are more things. For example, in my list box, in my overview page, you can see that I added extra, where's my filter? Orders, order list. In my order list, I have my filter, and the filter has the range slider. And here I add these extra attributes that are evaluated by ZLE, by the extra JavaScript at client side, and then it will add ARIA labels at the start button and at the end button to make them readable. What is the minimum price? What's the maximum price? So these kind of features you can we have to add, and they are documented in our let's go back in our accessibility guide. So here's a few patterns that that's the page that mentions what needs to be done to get started, a few links to what to read about and what to do. And we are, as said, we are sure we don't cover everything yet, just need to get started somehow, and did the biggest wins for the most popular components in the beginning, and then see where the demand goes. And I think we still need the link. Here's a link to the demo in the GitHub. And we also have a component guide somewhere with all the component features. I think we need to put this link somewhere more visible. So here's all the components that currently have something that was added from the accessibility package. And there's the range slider documentation, which says you have these extra attributes. For example, the large step multiplier for the page up and page down keys can be specified, or the area start and end label. Here again, the keyboard controls are mentioned, how they should work. There, for example, for list box, I think it's a bit more complicated. I wonder where it is. Here, list box. Oh no, it's quite easy. It's just difficult to navigate around because it has so many cells and items. So it's a more challenging part to create a UI that it doesn't contain too many rows or cells to make it easier accessible. But it's possible. We make it possible first, and then maybe if we can, we make it nice in the future. And there your nav bar, the one I used before, you have up, down key, arrow, left, right to open, close, navigation items like in a tree. So these are the features implemented. And then there are basic features like just adding a label. It's sometimes not absolutely trivial. So there are a few ways to set a label. For example, here with the search box, I just say the area label is the previous components label, because I have a label that is just added by ZK, and ZK renders labels traditionally as a span element, so it's not an HTML label element. So instead, I can link these two just by the label value. This is one way to do it. Another way is to use a native HTML label and just surround the input element. This works for some input elements, not for every, so it's not ideal, but it's a very quick way that is using native browser features to attach a label to an input element. Also with the select box, this just works. With search box, it's more complicated. It doesn't work, so you need something else to set the area label directly. And with range slider, I think I didn't even try because the concept is different. Suddenly the buttons have their own labels and not the whole slider. So you don't edit the range, you add two individual values, the minimum and the maximum price. So suddenly the component is two components for a screen reader and not one component anymore. So lots of things to learn here. And in this example, I tried to keep the customizations at a minimum. So I'm using mostly plain ZK components and not many other things. Wrapping it with a negative label, yes, makes the label clickable so that the focus changes. So if I click here on the label, it adds this one. So this is good for make accessibility better on touch devices where you have a big thumb and you can't focus easily. You can just make the whole thing clickable. It's a bit easier. The whole thing here is the label, so everything can be clicked in this left box. Same here, ingredients. I see it doesn't work because it's only the label. At least it's readable by a screen reader, so it will tell you that it's the ingredients. So there's construction sites in many places, but we are getting somewhere. So we have started, and I hope you can try. I hope it helps already in many places, and we hope for some positive and also hopefully some constructive negative feedback if something needs to be reconsidered or changed completely. All right, since time's up, I'm wrapping up here. So thanks for your attention. Thanks for all the input. So on the text box, I think yes. I won't try it right now, but yeah, you can. The CA label 4 is something you can add to anything, and because text box is by itself just an input element, the CA label makes sense here. The area label, the label 4, the CA label 4. No, I don't think we have the label 4. 4, there's no 4 attribute. So yep, not yet. I need to wrap up. I hope we have another support call about this or something. Trying to help you with all these new, how to say, complicated features. All right. And again, yeah, thanks for joining in today. And I think I'll stop the sharing now and see you next time. And if you have something, drop it in the chat. I leave the chat always open for a few minutes, and hope to see you again with the next session. And let us know what is which feature is most important for the next Ask the Expert session, so I can prepare the other one. Okay, I stop. Bye bye.